Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to be doing a Lulu inspired deck. This is the person that runs the Lyrical Lusicna deck. Now, just as a heads up, going over to the wiki page, you might notice that Lulu's card pool, it's like not like very viable, but at the end of the day, there were some new Lyrical Lusicna cards, but a lot of them are actually just in the anime, as in like we're not going to be able to get like obviously those effects here. So it's not going to be using anime cards, but it is going to be anime inspired, as in it's not going to be necessarily the most competitive. Obviously, cards like Droplet, playing other cards like Ash, Blossom, Valor would be still a very good thing to go ahead and put in. But there is some cheeky cards over here. I mean, there's even Fusion Parasite, which, I mean, again, I think that most people may not want to play in, let's say, a Lyrical Lusicna deck. But the best way to actually play this deck, if you're looking for a competitive Lyrical Lusicna deck, I will pin one down below. TriBrigade Lyrical Lusicna is really good, but there are still a really good amount of new cards that came out, like Birds of a Feather, which just made him trade his Dragoon of Red Eyes, or Red Eyes Dark Dragoon as we know him in the TCG, which is still really cool. Plus, there's a lot of other newer monsters that I did want to show off, so it's going to be kind of anime inspired, as you'll see some cheese here. Not anime card cheese where like they're super broken, but there is some cool strategies to Lyrical Lusicna that I just haven't seen in a while. I remember back in the day, Tyrant Neptune with this deck was pretty insane, but with some of the newer cards like Robin, which is pretty much the main one of the newer cards that a lot of people will be making in this deck, the thing is that card is not a once per turn, and being able to bounce back multiple of your opponent's special summon monsters is still a really good effect. So this is not like a joke deck. It's still like pretty decent, but again, I think that cards like Fusion Parasite may not be the best for, let's say, like this deck, but like, you know, again the anime with the Fusion Parasite, they do play a lot of those cards. Again, a lot of them are going to be like more anime inspired, so just so we're like on even grounds here for like what the content is, but nonetheless, there is also another newer card called Prom Thrush over here, so it gains a decent amount of stats. Like a lot of them gain stats based off the material attached to it, and then you can detach material and you can target a spell or trap your opponent controls, and you get to shuffle it into the deck. And then on top of that, if another monster battles, you can attach a bunch of materials and it can gain some extra. It's like really mediocre at the end of the day if you're looking at like competitive stuff, but there are some cool fun things that you can do. And on top of that, I actually haven't showed off this card called Exceed's Import, which I think is a really good card. You target an Exceed monster you control, an opponent monster your opponent controls with attack less than or equal to it. You get to attach that opponent's monster to your monster as material, and because it is a quick play, it lets you basically snatch steal potentially your opponent's card, not only even boosting up your stats, because that's kind of how the Lyrical Lusicna deck works, like the Robin over here, which is pretty much their best card. Like this card gains 500 material for each material attached to it, but if our opponent special summons a monster or monsters, which means multiple, you can detach material from this card, then target one of the monsters and bounce it back to the hand. And that's not a once per turn. That's really important with this card. This is the card that you got to watch out for. I'm not even sure what the heck this guy was playing, but it's kind of funny what happens here. So you can see, think of it like a Gren Maju with 4K attack, because like at first I thought it was just a like a Soul Turbo deck, and it's just like actual Ignoble Knight. But nonetheless, he decided to go with the Mage Power, going with the classic Yu-Gi-Oh cards. But something cool will indeed happen with Exceed's Import being a very good card as well. It's just showing you the power of it. So this card is actually pretty insane. So he's going to go activate Bird Sanctuary, another one of those newer cards where you get to attach a bunch of material to it, target 2 Wing Beast monsters, Exceed monsters, and you attach one of it, all the materials. So look at this, guys. Okay, so it has 5,800 attack. We just snatched stole his opponent's monster, and remember, now it cannot be targeted by opponent's card effects, so that really, you know, prevents them from getting rid of it in a lot of different ways. But on top of that, you have the ability to attack directly, and while it has material, it can attack a number of times each battle phase up to the number of Exceed materials attached to it. And so in this case right now, we've got currently 2, so it can attack triple times, it's any number of times up to the materials attached to it. So yeah, you can attack multiple times. It doesn't really matter, because unless we're in tag duels, which you could still definitely OTK someone in tag duels with the Assembled Nightingale. Now, I want to show you guys another really cool cheesy combo that I actually didn't expect to see in this deck, but because, you know, it's anime inspired, you know, a lot of times in the anime they'll run like random things, right, that like it actually has a win condition with just like that one setup. And so I think it's kind of cool. Again, the whole new Lyrical Lusicna stuff, it's not too bad though. Like I mentioned before, Birds of a Feather, I think it really comes down to people not reading cards, because reading is hard in Yu-Gi-Oh, right? So Birds of the Feather makes it so you can target a Lyrical Lusicna monster you control, and the attack of all face-up monsters your opponent currently controlled become the targeted monster's attack, and their levels in rank become 1. So that can actually stop your opponent from synchroing or like, you know, exceed summoning because of the level difference. And then when your opponent monster declares an attack on a Lyrical Lusicna monster, you can banish it, and the battling monster's attack becomes that opponent's monster's attack until the end of the turn, so basically lose out on all their stats. But what's really cool with this, because Assembled Nightingale can attack up to the number of material, while it has material, it can attack a number of times each battle phase up to the number of exceed material, which you can go ahead and see. He's going to keep on attacking again and again, and every single time he does that and he attacks again, he's going to be able to get the bonus of the Power of the Guardians, which actually doesn't have like a once per turn effect. So if the monster attacks multiple times, Power of the Guardian will start activating again and again. And you see we got 4 counters on it, which, you know, that adds up. That's another 500 every single time it attacks. And on top of that, if it would be destroyed by battle or by card effect, you can remove a spell counter from it instead. And so now we have a monster with 4 counters that cannot be destroyed every time you just remove a spell counter. And on top of that, cannot be targeted by your opponent's card effects. And then on top of that, there is another bonus effect, because that wasn't enough, right? During either player's turn, you detach material, and then the Lyrical Lusicna monster you control cannot be destroyed by battle or by card effects. So it's already immune to this, so you don't even have to remove counters. But in the off chance that they change something in response to this, they still can't get rid of it, and they still can't target it. So that's like a super boss play that you can do with this archetype as well. So there's just a bunch of different varieties for you guys to kind of just mess around if you guys are fans of, you know, a Lulu Obsidian. But anyways, now that you guys have seen it in action, I'll give you guys a brief little deck profile. And big shouts to my homie Subasa for hooking me up with the gameplay as well as the deck profile. So keep in mind, if you guys want to take this deck a little bit more seriously, you can definitely play. I did have some gameplay, you know, when you summon Bear Statue, the guy just like quit. I think this card is still very, very powerful, and it's still like a cheap card. And I think most people that are interested in anime inspired, you know, they're not really interested in a very expensive deck. Although 3 Tactical Talents is kind of a pricier card, you can definitely opt to not play them. As you know, in the gameplay, we didn't really need them at all. It was supposed to be more anime inspired than really anything, but definitely Ash Blossom, Veilers, they'd all be good. But if you want to take the deck seriously, I will link a video down below, because TriBrigade Lyrical Lusicna is an actual really good deck. But anyways, we got 2 copies of the Bear Statue. King Capio, it's just another card. It's you summon, you bring back another one. And then Celestial Wagtail, this is another one of the newer cards. It has the ability to make it so if it's a special summon, you get to add a Lyrical Lusicna spell / trap, so that forces your opponent to negate something. The Dragoon player negated this, but it didn't really matter because he ended up trading with it anyways, because he attacked into it and it made it change the attack. And then we have 3 copies of the Tortoise Warbler, 2 copies of the Sapphire Swallow, 3 copies of Barrel Canary, 3 copies of Cobalt Sparrow, and then Instant Fusion 1-for-1 Raigeki. We have Polymerization. I mean, you could go for this. I mean, technically, yeah, that the Parasite does let you go into it, which we saw in one of the gameplays that he was playing. I don't know how I feel about this. I mean, yeah, Instant Fusion is totally fine. It's just another target. But the Parasite cards, again, most of them that are listed in like the wiki page, they're just like anime cards, so you can't even really play with them unless you're playing anime rules. But then 3 Tactical Talents, again, is like kind of extra draw power for the deck. But again, if you're a budget player, just take these out. And then there's multiple copies of Exceed Import. I think this is a fantastic card as well. And then we have Bird Sanctuary, another one of these newer cards where you get to target 2 of them and you get to just smash all the material into 1 card. Power of the Guardian is a really cool thing. Stoic Challenge also lets you equip to an Exceed monster, and it gains extra attack for each Exceed material attached to it, and any battle damage your opponent takes, and their monster is doubled. So you can get some insane stuff. This is more for like hype anime level plays. And then Gravehole is just there to go stop some other, you know, back row, or well, it's anything that well, it's not necessarily back row, but like hand traps, mostly. But technically it can stop stuff in the graveyard as well. But then there's also Dimensional Wall, and then 2 copies of Featherstorm, another fantastic. This card's kind of just cheesy, but I feel like they would use it in the anime too. And then Birds of the Feather, one of those newer cards. For the extra deck, we got 2 copies of Impending Nightingale, and then we've got AA Zeus, then we've got Recital Starling, and then 3 copies of Ascending Nightingale, and then we have the new Robin, 3 copies of those, and 3 copies of Prom Thrush, and then some more. I mean, honestly, if we're looking at the anime deck would probably just play like 1 copy of each, and that'd probably be it. But again, this is supposed to be kind of like, it's anime inspired, but at the same time, I don't think the Lyrical Lusicna stuff in its pure form is going to be like the top tier. Again, if you're looking for a better deck with this archetype, this is more for like a fun anime, you know, inspired inspired deck using some of the cards that were listed, because again, it's kind of underdeveloped as an archetype for what they showed off over on the wiki page. But anyways, guys, that's going to go ahead and wrap up the video. If you enjoyed the video, drop a like on it. If you're new and want to see more new Yu-Gi-Oh stuff, and once in a while we'll do some of these more these anime inspired, because I think a lot of you guys did like the ones we did. We haven't done one of these in a really long time, as I've been really covering mostly like the newer cards, and you know, sometimes it can be hard to run some of these anime-inspired decks and get gameplay. I'll definitely say that's for sure. But anyways, take care, and I'll catch you guys on the next video. And shoutouts once again to my homie Tsubasa for the gameplay. And I'm out. Peace.